Billionaire discovers an empty lunchbox. What's inside is an incredible and touching reveal. John Matthews stood frozen in the attic of his childhood home, the dusty air thick with a strange mix of nostalgia and guilt. The eclectic jumble of boxes, old toys, and furniture overshadowed by dim light felt foreign yet oddly familiar. Everything was a reminder of the life he had traded for success and untamed ambition that had delivered wealth but stripped him of bonds that truly mattered. His fingers brushed over a faded lunchbox nestled in a corner, and curiosity compelled him to open it. What lay hidden inside would change everything he thought he understood about life. As the lid creaked open, he was met not with childhood trinkets, but a stack of meticulously folded letters, each yellowed with age, each inscribed in his father's distinct cursive. He felt an unsettling flutter in his stomach. The letters held promises and the echoes of a voice he had long silenced, that human touch of guidance now buried under the weight of his grand achievements. Each word was like a knife, reminding him of the sacrifices made for his success, the love offered free of charge but paid for at an unquenchable cost. Work hard, son. Success is measured not by wealth but by the love you give and receive. John felt the pressure build in his chest. Each lesson pounded into him like a drumbeat, a painful reminder of how he had let his ambition eclipse his family. Would he ever truly comprehend the price of his success? A wave of despair washed over him as the realization sank in. His life choices had pushed his father aside until it was too late. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The letters began to reveal an even more jarring truth. John had a younger brother named Aaron, someone he had never known existed. The revelation struck with ferocity. How had he missed this? A brother who remained in this very town, perhaps languishing under the weight of financial struggles that now felt unbearable for John to even imagine. His heart raced, a concoction of guilt and responsibility twisting within him. This hidden existence felt like a silent accusation, a challenge to confront the ramifications of the life he had chosen. As thoughts spiraled, he faced a chilling dilemma. Could he bridge the gap of two vastly different worlds? The influence of wealth loomed large, yet it paled against the questions that gnawed at him. What if Aaron resented him for having the life he could only dream of? Would his attempts to connect come off as superficial, merely the lavish offerings of a stranger? John's breathing became uneven, and he felt the tension seep into his very bones. He stared at the final letter, the ink almost smudged from a trembling hand. It was a plea for connection, a nudge toward responsibility. It screamed for urgency. How could he reconcile a life of privilege against the stark reality of his brother's struggles? He hesitated, caught between the fury of his ambitious past and the gentleness of the first bond in family he might still forge. Would he find the courage, or would he continue to let ambition overshadow the familial love he had neglected for far too long? In that attic shadow, John Matthews stood on the precipice of his past, paralyzed by a towering sense of responsibility and the weight of all that he had lost. The letters beckoned him toward a reckoning, propelling him into a future clouded in uncertainty. The choice was clear, yet the path ahead felt insurmountable if only he could summon the power to start anew before time slipped away again. John took a deep breath, the silence of the attic pressing against him like a weight he couldn't shake. It dawned on him that his next steps weren't mere decisions but a test of his very character. The warmth of familial bonds lay before him, an untapped resource beckoning him to rediscover it. The world he had built was impressive, but it ceased to be a source of pride the moment he understood the cost. Compromised relationships, a disconnection from inherent humanity. His heart raced as he escaped the attic, the letters still clutched in his hand. The dimness of his childhood home contrasted sharply with the vibrant world outside, where ambition draped itself around him like a lavish cloak. Yet now, it felt suffocating. The flicker of the setting sun signaled time slipping through his fingers if he didn't act fast. he might lose the chance to mend what remained of his family ties. John sat in his car, staring at his phone-s contact list with a strange sense of trepidation. There it was, Aaron's name, just a scribble on a screen. He hesitated, his thumb hovering over the screen, questioning whether he was prepared for the implications of that one call. What if Aaron didn't want to talk? What if he resented John for his wealth and success, a chasm of bitter comparison that could never be bridged? The internal battle raged on, as though every letter he read still haunted him, urging him to overcome his cowardice. Summoning what courage he could muster, he initiated a text. "Hi Aaron, this is John. We need to talk." The finality of the words struck him, reverberating through his thoughts, but he pressed send anyway. There was no turning back. The response came swiftly, a mere moment stretched into eternity. "Who is this?" The simplicity of the question struck him like a cold wind. It felt as if Aaron was still a stranger, someone entirely unaffected by all that had transpired in John's life, just a flicker of existence in a world of shadows. How could he not know who I am? John pondered, grappling with the deeper implications of that question. He had lived in an echo chamber of success, navigating every possible avenue to fortify his name and legacy, yet this remarkable fact eclipsed everything. His brother lived in obscurity apart from the breathtaking facade of what John represented. With a determined heart, he fired off another text. "I'm your brother. I've just found out about you." There, it was laid bare, raw and real. He waited, his thoughts whirling like a tempest. What would Aaron think? Would this admission ignite anger or curiosity? Minutes passed, and the silence felt electric. John paced in the car, anxiety weaving through every cell of his body. It wasn't until the phone buzzed that he felt the release of pent-up energy. "Why now?" The message was terse, cold, laced with an undercurrent of distrust. In that moment, he realized his brother's uncertainty mirrored his own. They were both products of an absence, a void left by a father who longed for connection but never learned to cultivate it. Just as John was battling with the weight of their shared history, Aaron too bore the scars of neglect. He took a deep breath and typed, "Because I want to be a part of your life, if you'll let me." The words were a fragile offering, not fully knowing how they might be received. Family had always been a word existing in context, yet now it hung in the air between them, filled with hope and fear. What followed next would determine their future. It was time to face the ghosts of the past, to confront their shared experiences, to explore painful revelations that connected them in ways that wealth could never comprehend. In that quiet moment of waiting, he understood that while he could measure success in dollars and accolades, his real challenge lay in seeking redemption, one that might pave the way toward healing a fractured lineage. And perhaps, just perhaps, he could also discover the person he lost in the pursuit of ambition. As the screen flickered in anticipation of a reply, an unfamiliar resolve began to settle within him. The time had come to face the reality of who he was, and who he had left behind. Decisions loomed like shadows ahead. Would he step into the light, or retreat once more into his gilded cage? The answer awaited him, just out of reach. The phone buzzed again. John's heart pounded violently in his chest as he glanced down at the screen. Aaron's reply flickered into view. "What do you mean, want to be a part of your life?" The question was blunt, but beneath the anger lurked a glimmer of curiosity, an invitation for John to confront the very core of his brother's pain. John's fingers trembled as he typed a response, unsure of how the conversation would unfold. "I know it sounds strange. I didn't know about you until recently. I need to understand my family, understand you. I want to try." That voice in his head, the one that whispered tales of failure and doubt, grew louder. Was trying enough? Could mere words bridge the chasm years of absence had carved? He hesitated before hitting send, questioning whether this simple text could convey the weight of his regret or the depth of his intent. What Aaron would say next reverberated through John's psyche like an impending storm. Each tap on the screen now felt monumental, an act of bravery layered with vulnerability. As a businessman, John had always wielded words as a weapon, persuasive and commanding. Yet now, the very same art felt insufficient. He yearned to express the rawness of his desire for connection, yet he was painfully aware of how misplaced attempts might exacerbate the very wounds he sought to heal. "Why should I believe you? You have everything, don't you?" Aaron's next message struck a nerve. The sting of truth was palpable, igniting memories long buried beneath his successful exterior. John swallowed hard. It was almost unbearable to acknowledge how his wealth felt like a barrier to access the straightforward and genuine relationship he craved. "Believe me when I say that what I have does not matter to me right now. What matters is understanding you, my brother," John typed with earnest intent. He wrestled with how to portray his intentions without sounding cliché, a phrase often thrown around in the boardrooms, but utterly devoid of impact when attempting to repair broken family ties. The silence afterward felt like an eternity, stretched taut with possibilities. He shifted in his seat, needing to do anything beyond this digital exchange. The mercurial nature of their connection hung in the air, and he could sense Aaron's reluctance translate into an unseen barrier. John's resolve sharpened as memories flooded back, a childhood spent reaching out for acceptance and connection amidst a father's stoic demeanor. Could he extend that same hand now, even from a distance? Would his wealth not only shield him but also empower him to change the narrative? With resolve, he took a deep breath. It was time to exit the liminal space between them. "Can we meet? In person. Just to talk, no expectations." The words felt liberating, invigorating, but also unbearably risky. He knew vulnerability stood at odds with his established identity as a successful businessman, yet surrendering this facade felt essential to truly engage with the possibility of familial connection. After several agonizing moments, Aaron's response came through. "Okay. But I don't know if I'll be nice." Relief washed over John, mixing with the trepidation of knowing conflict was imminent. That mixture was a stark wake-up call. He suddenly realized this wasn't just about rekindling a familial bond, it was about confronting his own journey, his own shortcomings, as he lifted the veil on vulnerabilities he had long kept locked away. He glanced out at the sprawling horizon, a reminder of how far he'd come and how much further he needed to go. The drive to the meeting, however tentative, could become a lesson not just for them both, but for John himself. As he turned the car ignition, the revelation settled within him: the true measure of success lay not in the accolades or the bank balances, but in his willingness to face the discomfort of uncertainty and reconciliation. That drive held the promise of transformation, not just for the relationship with Aaron, but also for John himself, unlocking facets of him that had been buried under layers of success and survival. The road unspooled before him, and he embraced the unknown ahead, ready to take the first real step toward understanding not just Aaron, but himself as well. The moment of truth loomed closer, and with each mile traveled, anticipation thickened in the air like an approaching storm. Would he emerge from this trial transformed, or would the weight of his past prove too heavy to bear? The answer awaited him just ahead. The car hummed smoothly against the asphalt, but John's mind raced with uncertainty. His thoughts flitted between the past and the immediate future, each one battling for dominance. What would he say to Aaron? What if the scars of abandonment echoed through their conversation, amplifying their distance instead of healing it? Despite a successful career meticulously built upon negotiation and persuasion, here he was, feeling remarkably unprepared. As he drove, John's gaze drifted toward the passing scenery. Trees blurred into an abstract canvas of greens and browns, mirroring the chaos swirling within him. It hit him then: he was no longer just a businessman navigating a labyrinth of deals, but a brother stepping into uncharted territory. His heart thudded with the weight of what was at stake. The meeting was as much about reconciling with Aaron as it was about confronting the man he had become. His mind wandered to his childhood, to those moments when he would watch his father's impassive face, desperately seeking recognition. No trophies or accolades could fill that void, and for years, John had buried those feelings beneath layers of ambition and success, replicating the very stoicism he had critiqued. Yet was this new chapter not an opportunity to shed that armor, to risk vulnerability for the sake of connection? Pulling into the parking lot, John noted the uneasy tightness in his chest. He had envisioned this confrontation 1,000 ways, rehearsing the perfect lines, but none of that practiced dialogue felt authentic anymore. Gazing into the rearview mirror, he saw a man grappling with his own limitations, the reflection revealing the cracks that success had tried to conceal. With a deep breath, he stepped out of the car and felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He was mere meters away from embracing a bond that had not existed, an act that felt equally thrilling and daunting. The cafe where they had agreed to meet was bustling, filled with laughter and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, but the clamor around him faded into silence as he approached the entrance. Inside, he spotted Aaron at a corner table, his presence a mix of defiance and curiosity. The tension between them crackled, each second that passed magnifying John's introspection. Would Aaron see him as a brother or merely a wealthy stranger cloaked in promises? Aaron greeted, his tone flat but revealing a hint of something deeper, an unguarded spark of vulnerability perhaps. They both sat opposite each other, an ocean of unspoken words swimming between them. "Thanks for meeting me." John struggled to maintain eye contact, a thousand thoughts battling for expression. "I really want to understand you, to make sense of everything." There it was, the acknowledgement of a brotherhood abruptly thrust into the foreground. Aaron huffed in response, his expression unreadable. "What's there to understand? You've been living your life while I've been here. Just like our father taught us." John flinched at the reminder, memories of a stoic childhood crushing down like an avalanche. The depth of Aaron's resentment sparked something in John, a realization that he too had been paralyzed, caught in a cycle of avoidance. "I know I can't change the past," he quickly replied, "but I want to create a future. Together." Aaron narrowed his eyes, skepticism dancing just beneath the surface. "Together? You don't even know me." The truth burned hot, forcing John to confront his own cowardice. "You're right," he admitted. "I've built up these walls to protect myself, thinking it would somehow insulate me from pain. But in the process, I became disconnected, not just from you but from who I really am." John's admission hung between them, a moment of raw honesty. Would it kindle a flame of understanding, or would it provoke further disillusionment? In that charged atmosphere, he felt a shift and opening that both terrified and exhilarated him. As Aaron remained silent, John's mind raced. This was not merely a reunion, it was a chance for him to redefine his sense of self, to unearth the buried emotions that had long dictated his life's decisions. But as he sat there, waiting for a response, he couldn't shake the impending dread that Aaron's next words could shatter the fragile bridge he was attempting to build. "What if this is just another failure waiting to happen?" Aaron finally asked, his voice low and gravelly. John swallowed hard, recognizing the weight of that question not merely to Aaron but to himself as well. Would he have the courage to weather the fallout, to genuinely confront and reshape his past? It seemed the conversation was only beginning, a titanic struggle of identities about to unfold. With this new wave of understanding, John braced himself for the next charge. The true fight for connection had just begun. Would he succeed in paving a new path toward healing, or was he bound to repeat the cycles of separation? The answers were still waiting, just around the corner. John sat in the cafe, the air thick with unspoken tensions, the aroma of coffee and pastries failing to mask the palpable uncertainty. Aaron's question lingered like a specter in the air, demanding a response that felt monumental. With each tick of the clock, John's apprehension deepened, coaxing forth the bravado he often employed in boardrooms but now felt awkward and clumsy. First John began, but the words slipped as uncertainty gnawed at him. Would fighting to forge a connection expose him to more hurt, more rejection? "I don't want to fail either." His voice trembled slightly, betraying the confidence he usually projected. I need to try. For both of us." Aaron's brow furrowed, the defenses building again, a wall that had taken years to erect. "You say you want to try, but what does that mean? You're living in a completely different world from mine. I can't just switch gears. What if I'm willing to do whatever it takes?" The promise surprised even John as the vulnerability unfurled between them, prophetic of what was at stake. Inside him was a wrestling match of conviction and self-doubt, battling against the allure of retreating to familiar isolation. "Words are easy, John," Aaron shot back, his tone sharp. Your world is one of transactions, shiny deals and air-conditioned offices. My life as a struggle for survival. Guilt crashed over John. Here he was, cloaked in privilege while his brother fought just to maintain a semblance of stability. I know that. I can't change the past, and I don't want to be blind to your reality. But I can choose to show up now, to be present. Isn't that worth something? The part of him that had thrived on shaping narratives suddenly quaked, fearing he had said too much but also recognizing the weight behind every syllable. Aaron leaned back, a deep sigh escaping him. You talk big, but I'm not a project for you to fix. Understood? Hurt pulled in John's chest. This wasn't a transaction, it was far more complex. I never thought of you as a project, I just see a brother I lost, and I want a chance to learn about you beyond headlines and geography. The deepening silence was crystallized with mounting emotions. Each beat felt like an eternity. In the stillness, John mentally rifled through the memories of his own life, recalling a childhood spent grasping at validation and connection, and experience Aaron must have suffered without the same shields. Would that realization be enough to bridge the chasm dividing them? Look, I didn't come here with a script, John continued, steeling himself. Maybe all I can promise is honesty. You have every right to doubt me, but I don't want to lose you again. Not like we lost Dad. Aaron's eyes darkened, the reminder striking a nerve. Is that your way of apologizing? His voice was steady but edged with hurt. We don't get to pick how we deal with loss. That's not something you can just walk in and band-aid over. John felt the fight inside him surge. No, I can't band-aid it. But I want to understand what happened, how it all fell apart after he left. I owe you that. You deserve that from me and from our past. The two locked gazes, the emotional battlefield between them thickening. John understood now that this moment was not just about healing their connection, it was about unearthing the very roots of the lives they had built. A revelation dawned in him, a competence he hadn't fully recognized before. He was not just a businessman, he was a human being capable of deep, vulnerable connection. A part of me has always feared that sharing this would expose me, John explored, his voice barely above a whisper, coaxed by an unexpected honesty. But trying to heal this fractured brotherhood feels like the only authentic path forward. For a flicker of a moment, John thought he saw a crack in Aaron's stoicism, a trace of longing breaking through the hardened facade. But the moment vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by an impenetrable shield of silence. If you're serious about all of this, Aaron finally replied, his guarded expression softening just a notch, then you'll have to dig deeper than I thought possible. Then I'll dig until I find the truth buried within us, Aaron. I promise. As the words hung between them, John felt a strange sense of determination swell. The foundation for their connection was precarious, riddled with potential pitfalls, yet he felt an undeniable shift. Maybe they could build something worth holding on to. But as silence enveloped them again, John couldn't shake the feeling that the conversation had only scratched the surface. What if Aaron chose not to share the truth? Would his resolve be enough to provoke real change, or would it all come crashing down under the weight of their history? The stakes felt inconceivably high, and the journey ahead may be more treacherous than he dared to imagine. John left the cafe, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. He needed clarity, a plan to bridge the chasm that had widened between him and Aaron. Each step echoed with the weight of his unfulfilled promises, threats of silence wrapping around his resolve. The street bustled with people, completely oblivious to the transformation that now simmered within him. Returning to his office felt surreal. The walls, adorned with accolades and deals that once filled him with pride, now felt oppressive. He sank into his chair, fingers hovering over the keyboard. It dawned on him that his recent triumphs in the corporate world paled against the complexities of human connection. Success in business had been about closing deals, but success in life would require digging through pain. His phone buzzed a text from Aaron, a simple yet potent. "What do you want from me?" The message struck John like a lightning bolt, igniting a mix of determination and fear. He took a deep breath. This was a moment to strategize, not withdraw. If he fought to navigate through the trauma of their shared past, he needed to be meticulous. He sat back, closing his eyes, tracing the contours of their childhood memories. Fragments arose: days spent at the park, the laughter, the comfort of shared ice cream cones. But those memories morphed into shadows as the darker times seeped in. The days following their father's departure, silence at the dinner table, the weight of words unspoken. Each memory felt like a jigsaw puzzle piece that could either fortify or destroy his attempt to reconnect. With renewed clarity, John opened his eyes. This was not just about Aaron, it was about him confronting his own vulnerabilities. He began sketching out a plan, a series of small actions meant to showcase his commitment. He would listen, not just hear. Offer support, not solutions. He reached for a pen, jotting down points. Initiate conversations around memories instead of products. Schedule time to meet outside the office. Invite Aaron to engage in activities they enjoyed as children, like going to the boxing gym they used to frequent. Slowly, he was crafting a bridge built on empathy and shared experiences. As he finalized his notes, the office door swung open. His assistant, Marissa, stepped in, balancing a report she had just printed. "Busy day?" she asked, arching an eyebrow at his furiously scribbled notes. "Changing priorities, personal development over profit margins," John replied, scanning his own words for clarity. The admission resonated, shifting his perspective. He realized that this wasn't just about saving their brotherhood. It was also about fostering vulnerability within himself, embracing the reality that connection necessitates courage. Marissa's expression softened. "Are you okay?" The question brought John's internal struggles to the forefront. "I'm trying to be," he admitted, the sincerity surprising both of them. "I'm learning that sometimes it's not about having all the answers. It's about showing up." "That's a good place to start," she said, her tone supportive. The conversation found its way into uncharted territory, guiding John to confront an unexpected truth about himself: that vulnerability could coexist with strength. In business, he was the one with all the control. In this personal sphere, he had to relinquish that grasp. As the day waned, John realized he had a choice: continue feeding the fear of rejection or step forward with authenticity. He opted for the latter, planning to text Aaron, share his approach, and genuinely ask for his brother's input. But the moment of truth faltered as he hesitated, thumb hovering over the send button. What if Aaron rejected him again? What if this attempt only opened old wounds? Rather than choosing to pull back, John pressed send, feeling a surge of resolve to confront whatever came next. The response came more swiftly than he anticipated: "I'm willing to meet. But I set the rules." The mixture of relief and anxiety coursed through John. He was on the edge of something significant, yet equally perilous. Now, the ultimate confrontation loomed ahead. Would he be able to navigate the truths waiting to surface, or would the past claim him anew? A knot twisted in his stomach. His next steps could either carve a new path or lead to a familiar dead end. The stakes had never felt higher. John stared at his phone, the message from Aaron replaying in his mind like a haunting melody. But I set the rules. A knot of apprehension tightened in his stomach. What rules could Aaron impose? Was he prepared for the walls his brother might raise? He took a deep breath, exhaling slowly, reminding himself of why he reached out in the first place. This wasn't simply about mending fences, but peeling layers away to make sense of their fractured bond. He pondered how best to prepare. Granite-faced, John decided to mentally map their forthcoming meeting. He envisioned the boxing gym, its familiar sense of sweat and leather a stark contrast to his corporate office. The rhythmic pounding of fists against bags echoed a world distinct from boardroom banter. In that space, both brothers had found solace, a connection built on shared fears and triumphs. The next morning, he arrived early, leaning against a partition while savoring the space. Memories of childhood reverberated: gathered laughter, impromptu sparring, aching muscles after an overzealous match. Each recalled moment carried the delicate essence of their brotherhood, but it was tinged with the fear of lost intimacy. As he concluded his reflections, the clang of the door announced Aaron's arrival. His brother's figure stood as a stark silhouette against the sunlight, a mix of maturity and defiance. John's heart surged with conflicting emotions. Vulnerability mingled with the instinct to remain guarded. Would Aaron see him as a brother or a rival? Let us skip the pleasantries, Aaron said, his voice steady yet cold. You wanted this meeting. What's on your mind? John swallowed hard, quickly suppressing the urge to retreat. I want to understand you better, he stated, trying to pierce through the hard exterior. I'd like to hear what you've been feeling about everything. I think it might help us. For a split second, Aaron's expression softened before hardening again. This isn't an emotional workout, John. I don't have time for weak apologies or reconciliations based on nostalgia. John flinched, the bluntness of Aaron's rebuttal almost palpable. Each barb felt as if it was cutting through the very essence of what he hoped to cultivate that day. Yet the rebuttal stoked his determination rather than extinguishing it. Fair enough, John replied calmly. I understand that I've hurt you. I have my own regrets. Do you even know the depth of what you've done? Aaron countered, his voice rising. The raw edge of his emotions was apparent, and a pulse of guilt surged within John. I wasn't there for you when you needed me the most, John admitted, his voice steady, yet layered with sincerity. I want to change that. I want to be there for you now. Silence engulfed them, thick with unexpressed emotions. Their eyes locked, searching for some semblance of understanding. John could almost see the conflict churning within Aaron, the remnants of vulnerability battling the facade of indifference. Why do you care now? Aaron finally asked, his voice quieter yet still laced with resentment. Because I need to understand my own failures, John said, feeling nerves fray but also strengthen under the weight of his truth. And perhaps, as brothers, we might find some solace in our shared experiences. I want us to rebuild what was lost. Aaron's expression shifted as he wrestled with his thoughts. John could sense the weight of years pressing down, the emotional barricade trembling under scrutiny. Words are cheap, John. Actions speak louder. Then let us take action together, John replied, his heart racing. Let us train. Together. Not just in this gym, but in being brothers again. I'll commit. Here in this bare room, the stakes had transformed once more. They weren't just fighting phantoms of their past but each other as perspectives, unearthing truths buried beneath layers of pain. John felt a surge of hope, an ember igniting within the wreckage of their relationship. But would Aaron match his commitment? As Aaron considered his brother's words, silence snaked between them again, punctuated only by the distant sounds of bag gloves striking leather. The redemption John sought felt tantalizingly close yet frighteningly out of reach. Not knowing where their renewed commitment might lead, or how long it would take, John's anticipation mixed with dread. The time had come to face the deeper questions spinning like a cyclone in his thoughts. What lengths would he go to reclaim his brother? And more importantly, what truths would they both uncover in the process? The walls of the gym seemed to vibrate with potential as John and Aaron began their first training session together. Glistening beads of sweat dripped down John's forehead, mingling with the heaviness in his chest. Each punch against the bag felt like a battle against the shadows that had haunted their relationship for years. John focused on form, throwing jabs with precision, cutting through the air with intent. Yet, the ache of uncertainty persisted. Put more into it, Aaron barked, his silhouette looming over John, spearheading a nagging rivalry that was as old as their history. If you want to make this work, you can't do it halfway. John nodded, forcing a smile as he adjusted his stance. The weight of Aaron's scrutiny felt like a 2-ton weight on his shoulders. Deep down, he resented needing to prove himself, but he recognized the instinct for competition that ran thick in their blood. It wasn't just about physical endurance. It was about overcoming the emotional inertia that bound them. Why are you really here, John? Aaron's voice cut through the rhythm of the gym. Are you trying to fix this, or just looking for a distraction from your perfect life over there? The barb stung more than John anticipated. He paused, allowing the question to sink in while the echo of his brother's words danced mockingly in his mind. Would he dare confront the depths of this truth? The contrast between their lives was jarring now more than ever. He felt their divide. John took a deep breath, steadying himself as he faced Aaron. I want to reach you, but I need your help. I need to understand what I did wrong to hurt you so deeply. Aaron's gaze shifted. There was an unmistakable flicker of vulnerability hidden behind the hardened exterior, and it ignited something within John, a flicker of hope. But the silence hung heavy again, a testament to the trepidation they both carried. With renewed vigor, John resumed punching the bag, each thud propelling him into a whirlwind of introspection. Perhaps within the act of training, they could unearth hidden aspects of their past. He remembered how the gym had once been a refuge, a place where their differences could dissipate through the sweat and grit of hard work and perseverance. This was where discussions turned into life lessons, each bruise and ache a testament to learning through adversity. As they trained in tandem, John noticed something else. Aaron was holding back, his punches lacking the fervor from days gone by. "You're not entirely here," John said, refusing to let the moment slip away. "You feel something different. Why not channel that intensity into our training?" Aaron scowled, not responding immediately. Yet John sensed an internal struggle brewing beneath the surface, a storm of emotions that needed a catalyst to unleash. "What are you afraid of, Aaron?" he pressed, pushing beyond the physical exertion. Finally, Aaron stopped, eyes narrowing. "I'm afraid of letting you in. Of opening myself up when you might just turn around and walk away again." This revelation cut through the tension like a knife. John felt the weight of those words resonate, for here lay the heart of their struggle, the fear of the familiar pain they both had endured. But John had a new resolve, sparked by his brother's courage to reveal so much. "I want to walk away this time," he replied, sincerity threading through his voice. "I'm here to stay, brother. Whatever it takes." For the first time, the facade cracked just enough to expose a flicker of connection. Aaron shifted, a mixture of defiance and yearning washing over his face. As the air thickened with the weight of their collective truths, John wondered, could facing these fears turn them from adversaries into allies? But before he could ask, Aaron launched back into the rhythm of their training, a fuse lit, and John felt it too. Their resilience was igniting, masking their deeper emotional struggles with physicality. Each punch sent ripples through the air, but in that moment of complexity, John thought uneasily, what happens if those emotional walls fall? Would they find solidarity or change everything irrevocably? The air crackled with unspoken tension as Aaron resumed his onslaught against the bag. Each strike was more ferocious, as if he were unleashing years of pent-up frustration onto the inanimate object, but John's attention remained fixed on his brother's struggle. It was a stark contrast to the disciplined breathing and intentional movement he had been striving for. "Focus, Aaron," John urged, stepping closer, determined to reforge their connection. "This isn't just about punches. It's about us." Aaron paused, his chest heaving from exertion, disbelief flashing across his face. The ire that had fueled his earlier intensity began to drain away, replaced by a weariness that weighed heavily. John felt the emotional battlefield shifting underfoot. Was this the moment they'd both been waiting for, or were they merely delaying the inevitable confrontation? "You say that, but what does it even mean?" Aaron's voice was strained, tinged with skepticism. "So much has happened between us. How do we just forget it?" John bit back an impulse to deflect. Instead, he stepped into the vulnerability that had become a cornerstone of this training session. "I don't want to forget. I want to confront it. I want to learn from it." Aaron looked away, pushing a hand through his sweat-soaked hair, the internal battle between brotherhood and resentment playing out on his features. John was acutely aware of the years they had squandered, the distance carved by their silence. This moment was a chance to bridge the chasm. "Why do you think I've chosen to come back?" John pressed, feeling an urgency to articulate his commitment. "I don't want to be a shadow in your life. If I've hurt you, it's my responsibility to understand how. It's time for both of us to step into the light." The challenge of that confrontation seemed to penetrate Aaron's armor. For a fleeting moment, he opened up. "Light? You think it's that easy? This isn't just some past event, it's the clarity of every decision that has led us here." There was an acknowledgement of the looming discomfort, and for a brief moment, John felt his brother's defenses begin to waver. I can't keep pretending that I've moved on, Aaron confessed, still not meeting John's gaze. You have your life, you've built all this, he waved vaguely, frustration dancing across his expression, but I feel like I've been left behind. You don't know what it's been like. The vulnerability in Aaron's tone cracked through John's determination, deepening his understanding of their shared pain. I don't know. Teach me, John implored, a fire igniting within him. Let me learn about the person I left behind. I can't change the past, but together we can shape a new future. With those words, John felt an unfamiliar sense of boldness washing over him. Could he, even now, shift the fabric of their interaction? Aaron looked at him, surprise flickering briefly in his eyes. John sensed a potential breakthrough, a shared journey toward both reconciliation and self-discovery. The next punch landed with surprising force, a visceral reminder of their ongoing battle for understanding. They resumed their training, but now it was fueled by a new rhythm, an unspoken agreement to tackle their ghosts while sparring against the bag and each other. John noticed Aaron throwing with more purpose, the barriers between them slowly melting as they collided in movement and honesty. But just as John's confidence surged, he was struck by a flicker of doubt. Was he truly ready to unearth everything hidden beneath the surface? What might resurface in this collision course of brotherhood? With each jab, a fresh wave of anxiety began to swell, tethering him to the past. The moments of shared hope clashed with the troubling uncertainty of the road ahead, and John wondered if they were truly prepared to unveil the scars that marked their path. As they exchanged jabs, John's thoughts spiraled into a whirlpool of questions about identity, connection, and vulnerability. As exhaustion set in, he vowed to face the depths of their discomfort head-on, but one realization loomed forefront. The battle had only just begun. What would they uncover next, as they pulled at the thread of their shared history? Together, could they emerge as more than just brothers, but allies in a quest for understanding? John Matthews emerged from the boxing gym a different man. The bruises on his knuckles mirrored the deeper wounds of his spirit, but they bore marks of victory, not defeat. Each punch had fueled a rekindling of connection with his brother Aaron, and now, as he stepped out into the cool evening air, he felt the weight of years lift just a little. The past had been a shadow looming overhead, but now he was ready to confront it with resolve. He reached for his phone, the screen bright against the twilight. The messages from Aaron lingered in his mind, echoes of confrontation and vulnerability that ignited urgent introspection. Each interaction had been a revelation, helping him peel back layers of misunderstanding and fear. For years, John had measured success in wealth and power, but he was beginning to grasp a more profound definition, a life rich in connections, honesty, and grappling with the truth of who he was. That night, John drafted an email to Aaron, laying out the framework of their renewed relationship not as a brotherly obligation but as a genuine journey toward understanding and support. He outlined their shared commitments: small weekly workouts, open dialogues to explore their past, and a commitment to vulnerability over defense mechanisms. He reflected on each letter, each word, and typed with intention, conscious of every implication and promise. This was a pact of sincerity he had never extended to Aaron before. As dawn broke, he felt a flutter of anticipation combined with the trepidation of vulnerability. Days turned into weeks. Calloused hands hitting the bags translated into deeper conversations, forging pathways of understanding previously lost. John learned about Aaron's struggles, the relentless paycheck-to-paycheck grind, the shadows of self-doubt that had haunted him. John unveiled his own walls, his fear of vulnerability, the drive for success that painted his identity with wealth over kinship. They explored old childhood memories filled with laughter and pain, culminating in shared moments that knitted their bond tighter, each session blending labor with emotional revelation. Gradually, their relationship transitioned from one of tentative estrangement to a partnership clad in honesty. There were bumps along the way, moments where misunderstandings resurfaced, but John chose to lean in, applying the same boldness he'd employed in the boardroom. "This isn't just a deal, it's my life," he would tell Aaron in those moments, demonstrating that solidarity required effort and courage. One day, while sweating through another round of sparring, the weight of their journey struck John clear as day. "I can't change what has happened," he told Aaron, taking a step back to catch his breath. But we can choose how to move forward. The simple declaration hung in the air, igniting something within Aaron. Their eyes locked, and for a fleeting moment, John saw the barriers they had erected over the years fade into the distance. I get it, Aaron replied, the tension in his stance easing. Choosing to be here is the first step. Weeks turned into months, and with every session, John felt a deepening sense of belonging. The initial discomfort evolved into a profound embrace of brotherhood. Here was the person he'd lost to ambition now walking side by side on this journey toward redemption. One evening, while seated together in a local diner, Aaron surprised John with a simple proclamation. You've shown me something I thought I'd lost forever: trust, and maybe even hope. Those words struck like a bell resonating through the halls of John's heart. In that moment of clarity, he understood that their commitment to healing had reciprocally changed them both. It was no longer just about righting past wrongs but creating a future imbued with connection and mutual support. With the weight of their past safely behind them, John was ready to embrace his new foundation for success. He decided to shift his business approach, incorporating a mentorship program that would foster relationships in his industry, focusing on balancing ambition with a commitment to community and family. His perspective reframed. Real triumph lay in establishing true connections with people rather than solely trading in dollar signs. John Matthews had emerged, not merely as a successful businessman but as a brother, a man committed to prioritizing what truly mattered in life. He had overcome the ghosts of his past and forged a new path, a path filled with emotional resilience, commitment, and the fierce loyalty of a brotherhood redirected. In the grand tapestry of his life, John realized that the greatest success is not the reflection in the mirror that wealth brings, but that of a connection rebuilt. He embraced his new role with open arms, ready to face whatever lay ahead, strengthened by the journey that had turned regrets into hope, and disconnected yearning into authentic brotherhood. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss these exclusive emotional stories. This is the moment to show your support, so leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure everyone can see this conclusion. Comment your reactions and theories about John and Aaron's growth. Your insights matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative journey.